What's up, Lee? How's everybody doing?
Really good. Doing great.
Couple of
Jordan,
us
how's
feeling
Jordan?
good.
Everybody check on Jordan.
Well, it was a crazy week 5, to say the least. We had some big matchups. We saw a couple teams improve to 4-1. A couple new leaders have emerged in the standings at 4-1, and I myself was one of those teams and was pretty excited on Sunday. It looked like that I was going to be sole possession of first place at 4-1. But then we had a wild one last night on Monday Night Football. A lot of us were watching. Some of us, like Jordan, were asleep somehow, or we don't know where he was. But he was not. He was not there with us for the ride, and it was crazy. It was Rocket Charlie had a big deficit, 20 points with Jacobs to go, and Jordan had Edwards-Helaire. We thought that it was a long shot, and Jordan definitely thought it was a win. And Rocket Charlie came back. It came down to the very end, the last couple of drives. It was pretty back and forth, and Jordan took a lead.
I was given no chance by my opponent. My opponent sealed me in the grave early.
Yeah,
Sent a gif of he getting stomped out. Yeah, he thought this was a done deal. It was crazy. I really think Jordan thought that it was over. Like, I mean, I got inside his head. I think he believed that the game was done and woke up to a very surprising result.
Yeah, he woke up to a surprise this morning for sure. Other notes in the standings, couple teams moved above 500. Lucci, Austin lost, but still remains above 500 at 3-2. The Mandingos 3-2. Goddard 3-2. And then a couple below 500, Jordan,
no
odd. And we won't talk about much more after that.
That's a fucking no 100. No 100.
Yeah. Nate still looking for that first win, but his team was tough. I played him this week. He did not make it easy. Thought he was getting a W. It's just how it goes sometimes. So not kicking a man down. He's got some wins coming up. And if I was him, my attention would be turned to dodging the Derwich, obviously.
Well, I have a graphic that kind of explains the situation. You know, this is something that I came up with in my free time. I don't know if you can see, but this is me right here.
How original.
This is my dick right here. These are you two here, right here and here. And this is me pissing on both of you right there. This is the way that I foresee the rest of our relationship going. I hope that all of your sons grow up to be soccer fans and play World of Warcraft instead of becoming football fans. Well, I want you to remember this moment.
Fair enough. Whatever helps you feel better, but tough loss.
We've resorted to doodling. We've given up on football. We've now become an artist. So things are bad.
It's hunting season. Football's over. You know, honestly though, like I say, the silver lining is that we don't have to look at Matt Rule anymore as fans, because fantasy is one thing, but having your team be as terrible as we've been makes football season something to really not get as excited about as you would be otherwise. So thank God for that.
Do you take any?
Do
you think that like you are possibly ruining the Panthers season by osmosis or vice versa? Do you think that you guys are feeding off of each other's energy and just blowing games?
At this stage, I am ready to call that Cleo lady that used to come on with the info at, you know, the voodoo lady.
Miss Cleo, yeah. Know her well.
Cleo, and see if, you know, maybe there's something she can do for me, because I've never had a season anywhere close to this.
No,
honestly,
you haven't.
My team isn't terrible. I mean, it's just one of those things. Somebody scores 80 and I score 78. I score 106. Somebody scores 105. I looked at the schedule last night, and every matchup is like, you know, it's right there. But I'm not gonna make excuses.
I mean,
It's
I think
You are being tested, my friend. You're being tested, man. I'm pulling for you, but from a distance. Keep that shit away from me, whatever you got.
oh, you both caught that curse last night, bro. You, you see what happened with Devontae after the game? That was just a taste of what's to come.
I hope not. That was terrible.
Oh, he's
I
done,
expect him
bro.
to be suspended now, and he's on his bye week.
4 to 5 games is what they're saying.
No way.
Yep.
I don't feel cursed.
Yeah, it's
I
like
don't feel
assault.
cursed after like
It's assault. That's what it is.
He just bumped into the guy.
No, it was assault. I've put in a petition to have him
he made
banned.
it.
You helped file the police report with
made
that cameraman, I think.
Yeah, he made a very nice apology, a sincere apology, though I will say.
That should
Saying
count.
He felt bad right after he did it, I believe.
The Packers.
Hey, he was mad
forgive
about a loss.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
don't hate that. I like
Yeah.
what he did to that guy. To be honest, that's the kind of thing we want to see out of the Packers. The Packers aren't mad about it. I just hope the NFL feels the same way.
Fucking scumbag organization.
That's carrying
just
right
like
there.
the
That's what
fucking
carrying
Raiders.
looks like.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
As soon as he becomes a Raider, he becomes a fucking scumbag, just like the Packers.
Well, yeah. So I'll be waiting big time to
Noted.
see what happens with that because he's on a
Well
bye.
documented scumbaggery.
Yeah, I got to deal with his bye week, then whatever suspension comes from that. I was hoping one game at the worst, but shit, we'll see. But anyways, back to the Renegades and Giggle Fucks matchup. We talked about the Monday night part of it with Edwards-Helaire and Jacobs, but there was more to the matchup. It wasn't high scoring at all. I mean, I know Rocket Charlie's had some issues out of some of these backs. Mixon and Aaron Jones did something, both with 8. You know, they got him a little something. It was an off game for Lamar, which, you know, is
We appreciate every yard.
Yeah, it's really with
Appreciate
Josh
every
Jacobs
yard.
and David Montgomery with 14. He's, you know, continued to struggle with the, you know, I know it's a sore spot, but with the tight end position. And I know at first he was really ready to
Please.
Taysom Hill
Can we-
after that. I'm sure Taysom Hill will be locked into his lineup after this, but he had the goose egg from Conklin.
Yeah.
Christian Kirk.
I'm lucky to have survived that blunder, a big coaching blunder. Somebody who's been kind of watching that Taysom Hill situation at tight end, knowing that cheat code for a while and been waiting to exploit it. To have him on my bench Sunday was painful, honestly, to thinking he was going to cost me a loss, but can't describe the elation last night. Never got my hopes up. Didn't think it was a possibility. I did not get excited until the very end. But man, Josh Jacobs, what can you say about that guy that hasn't been said about Hall of Famers like Barry Sanders? So, you know, I think it's time we put some respect on his name finally.
Well, he earned some respect.
But yeah, man, that was crazy.
Yeah, that was crazy.
That was insane. I feel fortunate to have survived that.
Yeah. Looking at the rest of Jordan's matchup, falling just short. Edwards-Helaire didn't do his thing, but he did get some good points out of some of his heavy hitters. Kamara had a good game, 17. Justin Jefferson, 18. Debo scored a touchdown, but still only had 9. He's had QB issues with the Fields thing. He plugged in Brady. Brady did pretty good, 19. Can't be too mad at that. Defense was a wash for you guys, really. So yeah, that's pretty much the story. It was a really good matchup, fun to watch as a spectator for sure, how it ended. I know Jordan didn't like that, but it was exciting for the rest of us, and I know for Rocket Charlie. So
another signature win for my career.
Yeah, well,
Jordan
time on that win. So moving on to the other.
Real quick, I just want real quick.
All right,
real quick. Address the fact that Jordan did say that this may come back to bite me. Sure enough, it did. You always want to watch that premature ejaculation. Just,
yeah, that's well noted, and I'm
keep
sure
keep that in.
Yeah. So I'll let you go ahead and review some matchups, starting with mine. The other 4-1 team, currently at the top of the leaderboard by points, but staying humble. But go ahead.
Currently,
yeah.
Things change quick. Yeah, things move quick. Yeah, Woodspeckers. The Eagles got it done in a grinded out game. So still managed to get like almost 30 points. Hurts continues to be in my eyes, one of the better picks of the draft, and you like to see it when it's reflected in a record, even though it is from one of my bitter rivals, the Peckers. But there's a reason that he's right outside the 3-ring club. This guy knows what he's doing sometimes, every once in a while. Struggling with James Conner still. I'm sure your gut instinct was right on that one. I'm sure you weren't excited about the pick, and I don't think he's excited. Giving you a reason to be excited since you drafted him. So that hurts. The Devontae Adams situation is up in the air, but yeah, I mean, I think Crady was up early. I was kind of watching my own matchup, but I think I saw that Crady was up early and had a good game for an 0-5 team. 106 points is usually good enough to get it done. But Woods Peckers, Eckler turned it on, really got great scoring all around, even, from the tight end position, almost 5 points. We'll take that. So yeah, Woodpeckers blew him out again. Crady, we're past panic button. It's really just trying to avoid the Derwich, I think, at this point. You've had some bad luck with injuries, but you got to not pick injured players. I guess that's part of the strategy. So players that get injured a lot, I mean, it happens to everybody. You'll either be savvy on the waiver wire and get a win. I don't know if we've had an 0-5 team before, maybe in a while, but what's he pulling out, a gun or something?
No. Just an evil stare. Just an evil stare. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, Crady got good production, honestly. Like, you see a goose egg. I guess that hurts from Higgins, probably an injury. I think he got concussed.
No.
He was like a game. He was gonna play situationally.
He did play.
Yeah, he played some. Yeah. He
did he?
Yeah.
Target. So he was going to be in there, and I was, then he just they pulled him. I think, he did start.
Yeah.
But just to touch on it, big win for me.
Touch these nuts to your chin.
Well, the big thing was Eckler with 31, obviously. Jeff Wilson. I feel like my team is doing pretty well right now. And with the injury to Rashad Penny, plan on rolling Walker out there. So we'll see what happens. Staying humble. Nate, I really thought Nate was going to beat me. He has a good team. Dalvin, Nick Chubb, and Stevenson all put up big points on me. So it was a good opponent. So close win. But
next
Yeah.
Next matchup was Lucci and Martinez. The Battle of Florida, if you will. And
it's a good rivalry in this league.
Yeah, good rivalry. You were hoping for a more competitive game, but that just hasn't been, the case for Martinez this year. Yeah, Justin Herbert, I don't think he's had anything crazy yet. He may explode soon, but that is his boy. But just pedestrian scoring all the way down. You got guys like Olave being the top scorer on your team. It's tough, Send him to the beach early. There's not much to say about this matchup. Lucci went off. Gabe Davis is back alive. He did lose Rashad Penny. That may hurt, but we'll see. He can be savvy. I think Lucci's on his game this year. It looks like you can definitely tell that the commitment and the effort put in has made a difference. So that's pretty cool to see, in my opinion. Looking to avenge that loss later this season, though. With that being said. So anyway, Travis Kelce had 4 touchdowns. That was wild. Pretty cool. I think he only had about 30 yards, but still, you needed 25 points to win from Kelce, and somebody told you he was only going to have 30 yards and you were going to win. You'd tell them they were crazy. So that was wild. Orf also almost came back off that Mahomes arm last night. I know that's not a matchup to review, but that was pretty wild too. So with that, I'll kick it over to Nate.
Well, as hard as it is for me to remain interested in this.
Fair enough.
Yeah, jumping off of what you were just talking about, Matt almost pulled off a comeback in their matchup. We talked at work actually about what he needed, and Mahomes did his part. The wild card was whether or not Juju was going to show up. There's so many weapons on that offense that you really, this week was Kelsey's week. Some weeks you might have one guy catch a couple touchdowns that you've never even heard of. So it's hard to really, other than Kelsey, key in on who's the guy that night. And I think they even warned about that at the onset of the season. But, they both,
Juju had just a little better of a game. Orf could have made a more even impressive comeback than my team had. Which my team's comeback really impressive.
He really needed him to put up, I think 11 was the number we talked about with 30 from Mahomes. I can't remember, but that was what we discussed. And sure as shit, Mahomes put 30 points up. So
he lost by 8 points.
Yeah.
So a catch, and a touchdown catch from Juju would have been the difference. And he came close. He got knocked out at the goal line, similar to Edwards-Helaire, who almost scored twice. And I'm sure had Jordan been watching, he would have been on the edge of his seat. So
you keep bringing this back to your matchup somehow.
Oh, I'm sorry. My bad. I don't mean to be. Renegades are flying high today. I mean, we didn't expect to be here. What can I tell you? We expected to be here, but we didn't after being down 20. I thought Edwards-Helaire could play football. Had no idea.
Every flea-bitten street dog that's soon to be put to sleep at the pound has its day. Okay? So,
yeah.
Back to the matchup.
You're going to get a win soon. Don't worry.
Back to the matchup. Back on topic. He had great production out of his backs. Henry and Fournette. It was kind of the same with my matchup. Usually when both your backs go for 25 points, that's enough to put it away. But when you're running up into Breece Hall, who actually I think this was his first big game, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Tyler Lockett showed up, I think, for the first time this season. So that's a couple guys that decided to show up this week that up to this point haven't had as big a game as they had. Marquise Brown has been a good steady role player in that team. And obviously Mark Andrews, I think it's neck and neck with Kelsey and Andrews as far as the tight end number 1 goes. But this really came down to, a few points one way or another. And I think that these guys will both, stay competitive as long as there's no strange trades made by the stink pickles. That's something that we have to continue to monitor. There was some controversial trades early, several years back involving the Cuban connection in South Florida. And we have to be wary of deals made with the devil and the Italians trying to take advantage as well. I still think Taylor can wake up. I don't know, but we'll continue to monitor it.
He didn't, as somebody who won the league last year on the back of Jonathan Taylor, I can tell you he didn't wake up until week 6 or 7, one of the two. So, I wouldn't bail out on him yet. Like I think Brian said, he's going to ride with him, which I think is smart. I think that's the right call if you're the stink pickles right now.
I think it's a different team though. I don't know that they have. I saw a rookie for the Colts that was looking pretty good, a white kid. I can't remember his name, but if you can get Pittman going as well as him and take some of the guys out of the box, you might be right. But Matt Ryan just looks so bad that I can't.
Yeah.
I don't see the production being there as it was last year, touchdown wise. He's still probably going to have some great games, but I just have a bad feeling having Pittman on my team. I pay a little closer attention to that Colts team, and I think maybe it's going to be maybe not a bust, but it could be a whole hell of a lot better than it has been up to this point.
Yeah, definitely not looking like the number 1 pick, but rarely does the number 1 pick perform like it. I feel like, or it's definitely not a sure thing ever. So,
yeah, my one thing on that matchup was it was close, but Todd's team across the board put it together, with the exception of AJ Dillon. He didn't get a ton out of his QB like Matt did, but he just consistently produced at defense, flex, tight end. Where that's where Matt fell short with Hawkinson, and then his flex plays. Matt's team is really good up front. like Henry, Fournette,
Yeah.
Mahomes, obviously, but it's like his flex. I'm looking at Juju, Corey Davis. Like he's got to find a solution there. And a lot of that comes down to
Hawkinson.
pre-draft preparation is where you get those late round picks for your flex.
Something he does not believe in. He's
Yeah.
been firmly against that for years now, despite not titling. Hawkinson, though, like that's got to frustrate you. I think he had 30 plus last week, and now he can't even get 10 yards in a game, which is tough.
The whole Lions
that position
laid a goose egg, you know?
Yeah, they had a bad day. They had a really bad day. But yeah, it's tough to put consistency together. That's one of the things that can get it done, and just going against the right team that week, knowing how to beat your opponent.
Yep.
You know,
Nate, what you got for the last matchup?
Well, for the Toilet Bowl, I have
really
the Return to Glory versus the Gladiators. It wasn't exactly a barn burner. You know, it was 64-75 was the score. So Return to Glory, despite having Saquon, he's struggling elsewhere. You know, Jamar Chase up to this point, he's been having a rough go of it. I don't think, you know, he was in discussion for a first round draft pick. And, you know, T. Higgins, who's, you know, obviously on my team, is actually leading them in yards and I think tied in touchdowns. And I got him in maybe 4th round. So obviously not the value you want for a guy that went, I think, 2nd round. But, you know, he'll look to turn that around. Got A.J. Brown still. He just didn't show up this week. Diggs has been the most consistent out of his 3 wide receivers. Obviously, Amon-Ra St. Brown being a part of that Lions offense you were just talking about. I think without Swift, really.
Was he back in the lineup? St. Brown, I know he was hurt, I think.
Yeah, he didn't do much. He only put up a point, 1.8. So, you know, I think without Swift, that offense tends to stall out. And with, you know, Swift is a weapon. So Jamal Williams is a nice role player, but without that threat of a guy in the backfield that can break it off for 100 yards at the drop of a hat, I think people have figured them out a little bit. On the Gladiators pulled it out, you know, mostly on the back of Cooper Kupp and the rookie Dameon Pierce out of Houston. Derek Carr, nothing really to speak of, 17 points. Najee Harris has been kind of a I don't want to say a bad pick because he's the guy.
I'll say a bad pick.
That offense is, again, you know, if your offense is that bad, you know, you're going to struggle. When the Texans backs running circles around you, you were supposed to be like, you know, 1st round draft pick. That's never a good sign. But all in all, I think these guys will both bounce back reasonably well. They have enough people on the roster, you know, just moving a few guys around can probably, you know, I'm looking at Return to Glory's bench. He had Michael Carter with 15 points, which, you know, that would have been enough to turn the corner had he, but, you know, with Amon-Ra St. Brown name brand recognition, you pretty much had to play him.
Yeah.
But that Michael Carter play, you know, that Jets team's got a decent running game.
What I would have done. It's definitely what I would have done.
Right.
I'm going to touch on it real quick. I thought that on Goddard's team, obviously got the win, but not a ton to be excited about. But the consistency of Cooper Kupp is just like amazing. And the Rams aren't even that good offensively this year. And then Dameon Pierce, obviously, also, he had a run where he just like carried like 7 guys. Like that guy is really good. That's going to be fun to have him the rest of the year.
He runs like he's definitely got something to prove. When you have a guy that's drafted that late, you know, I think that typically they're going to go out there with a chip on their shoulder and sometimes at the risk of getting hurt. But that's what you like to see, you know, run hard. Like I actually saw Philip Lindsay, your boy, in the game the other night.
Really? I didn't know he was in the league.
He was in I can't remember who he was playing for, but it reminded me of how proud you were to have him on your team.
Yeah,
Nice.
it's hard not to love those
Hmm.
undrafted or late round backs that just like, these guys are getting paid pennies compared to the big names, and they're out there just trying to get a paycheck, trying to make a name. It's hard not to like guys
Yeah.
like Damian Pierce for sure. And
Yeah.
then Austin's team, the week 2 darling, Austin, his team still has 3 wins, but he's struggled a little bit. I'm looking at his team. He desperately has to find an RB2 to pair with Saquon. And honestly, he needs a QB. I mean, a lot of us, including myself, thought Russell Wilson was going to be good fantasy wise, and it's not coming together. And now he's injured.
Yeah.
If I was
Yeah.
him, I'd be packaging one of his 4 really good receivers. And
I'm
I'd be packaging him for a back.
I'm not buying this whole line of shit because I won 2 championships without even my top fucking back playing. So the wide receivers, one of Diggs was actually one of them. If you hit him on a week when Chase, Diggs, and Brown go off, you're fucking done. It's the end of the game. Because that's the key though. I think there is more volatility with wide receivers. So his week to week swings, while they might not be as consistent, I still think that I think that he's going to have brighter days ahead. I'm not ready to write him off as being a one-hit wonder just yet, but you're right. It wouldn't hurt to have somebody other than Antonio Gibson in there, especially with that gunshot victim on his way back.
Who is the MVP right now through 5 weeks of fantasy? Like, who would it probably Saquon or Jalen?
Josh Allen, maybe.
He's on my team, and I haven't won a game. So go fuck yourself.
Nick Chubb, possibly. Yeah, I mean,
Chubb
there's
has been
few
killing
candidates for it. I would say, for my opinion, Josh Allen. I'd say I think he's the most dominant football player in the NFL right now.
I think for a lot of leagues where Saquon was drafted in like the 3rd fucking round, like
he's the steal of the draft. He went early in our draft, way earlier than any mock that I did. So I'm saying most leagues, Saquon is the steal of the draft. He's the pick of the draft right now.
Okay, fair enough.
But
MVP Josh Allen, Jalen. I mean, Jalen Hurts.
Jalen's right up there. I wasn't going to name him. His team is undefeated, but you're talking fantasy. Allen is probably.
Yeah.
But I did see him go into the tent for the first time this year in that game, and I know that Austin had to be a little worried because he went. I think it was a shoulder, and it obviously wasn't enough to keep him out of the game. But I was in my mind, I'm like, here we go again.
Yeah, he did. He got a lot of people worried with that. He went into the tent, and you got to be concerned about any of these guys. I mean, even with Hurts, has been taking some big time hits. He's a huge guy, like him and Allen type. You don't think about them getting injured, but they definitely get hurt too.
I think we need to touch on the dramatic change in officiating that we saw over this past weekend, as far as not only concussion protocols, but the way that quarterbacks are being. This is like the Tom Brady tuck rule, whatever, on steroids at this point. If you touch the quarterback and he wavers a little bit, it's like, I saw a couple calls that I was just appalled. I'm like, this can't go on. I mean, I know they want to prove a point, but I don't think that this is the way to go about doing it. Overreaction because they made a bad call with the Hawaiian that will not be named. I don't think that the rest of us should have to suffer for the fact that the Dolphins organization managed things so poorly. And now we're getting guys just basically, because it really in the Falcons and Bucks game, it almost was the game.
Yeah.
I mean, that's uncalled for, in my opinion. I don't think that should be something that officiating shouldn't decide games. I don't give a shit about concussions. You play the game. You buy the ticket, you take the ride. And I think that all these guys know that. They're big boys. And I really was like, it kind of made me, people have said it's been getting softer and softer, but that was
it's borderline going to be 2-hand touch for the QB.
For sure.
That's what it's going to be. You can't even hit the QB. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I wasn't as shocked that they were like that with Brady because he's the golden boy of the NFL. But then they did it with Carr, almost a worse call. It didn't decide the game, but it was like even worse because it was like a strip sack too. I mean, that was a big change right there in that game. We got about a minute and a half. But yeah, I
man,
totally
that was
agree.
crazy. Well, real quick, I got the what?
Oh no, good.
I got the top scorers pulled up. There's some surprises in quarterback. There, Geno Smith is number 6 in scoring this year. Nobody saw that coming. Josh Allen 1, Lamar Jackson 2, Jalen Hurts 3 right now. Jared Goff inside the top 10. At running back, Chubb is number 1. Sorry, Crady.
What a
Got
waste.
Josh Jacobs number 5. Derrick Henry at number 3, like good pick for Orf, right? Where
Who was number
selected
2?
him essentially. Saquon.
Saquon. And who's
And Eckler's 4.
okay?
Yep.
Interesting.
So neither of it. So what you're
Yep.
saying is neither of the top 2 teams have a top 5 running back or top 4 running back.
Hey, that goes towards your point for sure, right there.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's
Jacobs.
obviously you got to put it together. You got to have. It's all about the total roster, really. I mean, but yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, it's a fair point.
We'll see. We'll see how that works in the playoffs. I'll
Yeah.
be watching.
All right, guys. Well, that does it. Looking forward to next week, week 6 already. Season's flying by. This has been a fun one. Looking forward to seeing what happens. We'll see y'all next week. Peace.
Fuck you both very much.
Jordan, remember who clipped your nuts?
Best line ever in fantasy.